Well, thank you for watching Conversations with Jennylyn. It's a new year. It is my first show for 2020. And the beautiful woman sitting across from me, her name is Deborah Stathis, and she's Australian. She's an author and the founder. She's an author, a coach, and founder of Tragic Opportunities, and she'll tell us the rest as we continue with this interview. Welcome, my very first 2020 first guest.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm the first 2021 guest. How exciting.
Right. I took a break for the Christmas vacation and I was a little lazy getting back into it. So now that I have you, welcome 2021. So
That's it.
Deborah, you were recommended to me by someone who thought that you had a lot of inspiration to share with me and my viewers. And so I'm excited to learn what that is. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm so honoured by that as well. To have that recommendation and to be able to help others and inspire others with my personal story and the work that I do. So thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm deep gratitude. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So one of the goals of why I do this is I feel that everyone has a story and everyone has something that can inspire another person. And I hope that the time I spend with people, that we can capture that and that
Yeah.
their story can have a positive impact on another person's life. So I'm grateful that you're open to sharing that with us. Now, why don't we start with the book that you have authored, and then we can talk about your foundation and why you've given it the name that you have.
Wonderful. Thank you. Absolutely. Well, my book, which is behind me, is Beyond Trauma: Turn Tragedy into Opportunity, and I was driven to write this book because I wanted to share my experience in order to help others. And the book isn't all my story. Part of it is. Most of it is about the tools and techniques and the strategies that I use to recreate my life and rebuild my life from severe physical injury and trauma. So many years ago, whilst driving home on a hot day on a slippery highway, it hadn't rained for a week and it started raining, and I hit an oil slick on a highway. I only had my license for under a year, so I was very young, and I slipped. It looks like I got scared and possibly put my foot on the brake. I don't actually remember, but that's what the police report sort of indicates. I fishtailed. I went to the gravel on the side of the road. I car did a 180 and wrapped around a telegraph pole. On the driver's side, which is this side in Australia, on the driver's side, in my 1985 Toyota Corolla Seeker with no airbags. So to put it into context, the steering wheel was pretty much in the middle of the car with me in there with no airbags. So by some grace, the witnesses who stopped were two strong men and a nurse and her daughter, her young daughter, who was a qualified resuscitator as well. And between them, they got into the back of the hatch and held my head straight while the nurse pulled debris out of my mouth so I could breathe. And she directed the strong men, and the young girl brought towels and kept passers-by away. And I mean, statistically speaking, I should be dead. I was airlifted to one of Melbourne's oldest ICU unit and most established, the Alfred Hospital, and I sustained severe head injury and lung contusion and bruising and bleeding, collapsed left lung, etc., which is nothing in comparison to this. So I put it on the cover of my book.
Can you bring it closer so we can see it?
Absolutely. So, well, can you see? Tell me if that works.
Yeah, we can see it when you hold it on that. Oh my gosh, what's that part of your face?
It's actually all my face. So I smashed in my face. So I have, I broke my lower jaw, my upper jaw, my cheekbone, my forehead, the skull base, which is what your brain sits on, my cheekbone, my upper jaw, and my nose. An acquired brain injury from that.
How old were you? Did you tell me how old you were?
19. I was 19. I just turned 19, a week to the day after my 19th birthday. The worst break was through the skull, through the sinuses here and through the skull base, so what your brain sits on, and that basically multiple breaks through there. So I had bruising, swelling to the brain, acquired brain injury. And yeah, so statistically speaking, I should be dead from there. The prognosis was, wow, she's not dead. The prognosis was brain damage, blind in the right eye, and physically not looking like I did. And I'm very proud to say that I beat pretty much every medical odd.
That is so awesome. Good for you.
So yeah, it took me years of persistence and relentless pursuit to rebuild myself, my face. But I was that young girl that tried to escape the hospital wearing nothing but her gown and the drips in my hands and my face out here, saying, I'm going home. This is not, I do not accept this. And in the rehabilitation centre, I had moments of, I had a breakthrough moment of facing my reality, where I made the decision to do whatever it took to rebuild my life. And I did that. So,
my God. So most of the injuries that you sustained were in your face.
my face, my head, brain injury, lung contusion, so bruising and bleeding in the lungs, primarily the left one. But yeah, facial injury, brain injury. Yeah.
How are you today?
I'm a small person, so I fitted in the car. Strangely enough, I fitted in that small space. I got squashed in there. So I didn't actually break any bones in my body, interestingly enough. But my face really copped it. Yeah. So
over what period of time did it take you to recover? Because nobody looking at your face now, I don't know what you looked like before, but looking at you, I would never think that that's your face on the cover of that book.
Thank you. More than you know, thank you.
You are beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I very deeply appreciate that. I was in hospital for, I think it was 5 weeks, which is quite short, really. They had to wait for swelling to go down before they could operate on my face or my brain. And then after that, I went to a rehabilitation centre, and I think it was about 4 weeks that I was there. And then I was home for a period of time as well. I mean, I was very thin and very weak. And, you know, the acquired brain injury, the swelling, etc. These things take some time to settle down, not to mention all the medication to flush out of the body. And I'm very proud to say that, you know, the injury was in January, and by the end of that year, I'd gone back to work in a reduced capacity.
What type of work do you do?
I don't do what I did then. I mean, I was 19, I was young, but I worked in a sales customer service type role in real estate, which I don't have anything to do with real estate now. But my work now is with my business, which is Tragic Opportunities, and I am an author, of course, speaker, coach, and mentor. So my professional background is professional education and training. I have years in that. And so I combine that skill with my passion to help others and help individuals, groups of individuals, and businesses and teams to find opportunity within stress, trauma, adversity, and create their best life, their best career. And that's what my core focus is. And then my key message is, what I call a tragic opportunity. So I coined that term amongst all my trauma, which was, the tragedy is the trauma, adversity, pain, suffering that we experience. The opportunity is how we choose to learn from that. The lesson, there's always a lesson. So how we choose to focus on that lesson and then use that knowledge to improve ourselves and make choices to improve our life and take action to change our life for the better. So that methodology can be used personally, professionally, in so many cases, and that's the core of the essence of what I do now to help people. And I share a lot of the strategies within my book as well.
So, my goodness, I love these types of stories because a lot of people, when they've sustained those types of injuries, especially to the face, they accept whatever they're told by the doctors.
Yes.
And I love that you didn't do that and that you fought, and now nobody can tell looking at you. Have you sustained any type of brain injury that is causing you problems today?
I have an acquired brain injury. I'm aware that my brain works differently because the injury was when I was an adult, a young adult, but an adult. So when those sorts of brain injuries happen in childhood, the brain rewires and the person isn't generally aware of that. Things have become more instinctual to me now anyway. But I also, I took it upon myself. So, you come out of hospital, tick, come out of rehabilitation, tick. And then things have changed. My perspective had changed. My brain was functioning differently. And I thought, well, I'm not just going to accept this, like you said. And I thought, okay, what can I do now? So I researched, absolute relentless pursuit. I found help. I created a tribe, if you will, my wellness tribe to improve my physical fitness, my mental capacity. I did all sorts of mental type of exercises to try to help further rewire my brain and work with the way my brain works now. And I was very fortunate from a medical perspective that I was put into optimal circumstances in terms of the brain injury. So a secondary brain injury didn't occur in terms of cognitive function and things. So I'm very grateful to the hospital and then the care team here with that in the first instance. And it's a matter of working, acknowledgement and working with it. So, perspective for starters. I reject the notion of being a victim. I'm a survivor, I'm not a victim. And it's very easy to fall into victim mentality when there's so much pain and suffering, and when hospital staff and doctors and family and friends with the absolute best intentions, can wrap you in cotton wool a little bit. And in the beginning, that's necessary and it helps. However, there's a point where we need to push the limitations a bit, safely, of course, and with advice from doctors and all of that, but we need to push and find different ways to do things. And that's what I did. So I do have post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety disorder. And I learned to work with that. And there's so much insight in that too. There's so much I've learned about myself and about others that I can help and that I can now use. So I'm grateful for that now. As much as it's been painful for me, I'm grateful for that now, because I wouldn't be who I am. And that's why I put the cover of my book, the very thing that I worked so hard to fix. I put on the cover of my book, I exposed that, if you will, because I wanted to give others permission to own their pain, their suffering, and the ugly truth, so to speak, because there's power in it, there's beauty in it. And look what I've been able to do. If I can do this, if I can overcome that, then anyone can overcome and move beyond any other trauma. And I truly believe that everybody has that power within them.
As someone who suffered trauma, because you are, I think, maybe my third guest, because I've interviewed Paul Rogers, who recommended that I interview you. I
God
mean,
bless him.
his story is very similar to
It
yours.
is. And we have such a bond because of
Of that,
that.
yes,
The conversations that we've had because of that is just, yeah.
because everything he is saying to you is relatable. You guys
Yeah.
can tell these stories to someone like me, and we can only understand and empathize as far as our imaginations will take
Mm,
us.
yes.
When you have the experience, it definitely bonds you. So, what I would like to ask you, as someone who has survived severe trauma, should doctors not make those types of prognosis? Should they not tell patients things like, you'll never walk again, you'll never see again? I've always been uncomfortable with that because
Mm,
there are people who will do only what the doctor says.
yes.
And when the
Yeah.
doctor says you will remain like this, or you'll never walk again, or
Mm,
whatever, to me, for some people, that sets the bar for them. And they
yeah.
accept that and they don't try. Had
Mm,
you been one of those people, then maybe
mm.
you wouldn't be where you are today doing what you're doing. How do you feel about that?
And I think that's a wonderful question, and it's sort of a complex one too, because there's two parts to that. It's important for doctors, medical teams to uh, provide uh, that level of information, uh, so as individuals with injuries have at least some sort of idea, because I mean, if medically, there's, you're not going to walk again, they need to be told this. At the same time, I think where, and this maybe falls further into rehabilitation as well, and also providing in the whole medical system, hospitals, etc., providing access to other types of therapy and coaches, etc. I think it's important to say, look, given the medical statistics and the injuries they have, okay, this is what the likely prognosis is, okay, and you need to be aware of this. That said, there are additional services that you can look at to make the best of your injuries. And what that is, we don't know. Miracles happen. I'd love a bit more conversation about that, a bit more, not false hope, but let's see what you can do, because it's often left at what you can't do.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, I've got a brain injury and maybe I won't be able to learn. Maybe, you know what? I've been to university and I've got multiple qualifications. My vision blurs when I look at too much writing, yet I've written and edited a book. I could have given up, but I didn't. I did it anyway. So the point is, just because it's uncomfortable, that doesn't mean we should give up. And I think that it would be nice to provide a bit of hope. I'm actually connected with an incredible Australian man who was told he would never walk again, and he walks.
Okay.
He did not give up on it. So
We're already down to 11 minutes, and I would really like us to talk a little bit about your business. But before you go there, I love people who push the envelope. I love people who take all the impossibilities and make them possibilities. I'm one of those people.
yeah,
If I really want something, I don't care if somebody tells me, I will not give up. And I usually pick my battles. So clearly you are one of those people. And so even though you were told you probably would not do what you're doing today, you look brand new, and I'm sure that you have you know, some struggles with your brain function. But it seems to be functioning pretty well to me. You wrote a book. You're running a
yeah, yeah.
company.
Yeah. It's more around tiredness and now it's more around tiredness and sometimes overwhelm. Uh, I've learned how to manage that though. I've learned what to do with that, and things come up. Uh, However, the brain's an incredible thing. It rewires. We can relearn. Different parts of the brain can learn to accommodate, and that's where I kept going. I learned different ways to do things. and also accepting the now rather than thinking about how I used to do things. So moving forward. So for as long as we hold on to what we thought we wanted for our life, or the way things were, we just hold ourselves back. The pivotal point is, where am I now? What do I want now? How do I feel now? And what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm. I love it. So tell us about your company.
So tragic opportunities. So I named my business that because it encompasses everything that I believe in. Tragic opportunities covers everything that I do, if you will, and all the partnerships, collaborations that I do. So all the speaking that I do, the workshops that I offer, and of course the writings that I do as well. So I'm a contributing author in 2 books of inspirational stories, and there's another couple of books that I'm contributing to, which will hopefully come out in the next year or so. So that's good. And so I'm very excited about that. I'm thinking about writing my second one as well. So everything that I do there. So I work with individuals, teams, and organizations because I do have that professional education training background as well, and sales and marketing background too. So I help individuals with either bespoke programs or quite specific ones that I already have, to tap into their truth, their power to choose, their power to create opportunity within their business, within themselves, to get the best outcome. And I do that with with various workshops and talks and like I said, bespoke programs as well. So yeah.
Are you involved with any organizations that assist people who've had similar tragedies as well? Not tragedies, but accidents or situations where they've had injuries and told they weren't going to get better?
Not yet, and I say yet because I'm in discussions with a couple of organisations at the moment as to how I can be of service. So I'm looking forward to being more involved in that capacity. So especially around mental health and suicide prevention, because of that's often the flow-on effect of major trauma and injury is often related to mental health and depression, anxiety, and I've been there. PTSD and anxiety and depression. I have been to the absolute dark depths of that, and I'm a survivor of that as well. So I'm very passionate about how I may be able to be of service in that area as well. So
I have to ask you this question. I mean, I've been asking you lots of questions, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this one. What kept you going during that time? What was it in Deborah that made Deborah decide, well, I've had this happen to me and it's done. This is what has happened. I'm told that this is what I'm going to have to live with based on my accident. What was it in Deborah that changed that outcome?
can I answer that with a story?
Yes, of
Thank you.
course. We
Thank
want to
you.
hear it.
So, and I do share this story in a lot of my presentations as well, because it was a pivotal moment for me. This was the game changer. After I came out of hospital, and as you can imagine, I was, with brain injury and all the medication and swelling in the brain and bruising.
Pain.
Oh, let's not even go there. And in the hospital, the staff had covered the mirrors because there was, and I have a dream-like memory of this because I, of course, very drugged and brain injury, head injury. When I did see my reflection, it didn't go down very well because I was, and that was quite a traumatic, painful experience for me. So they covered the mirrors in the hospital to avoid any more distress. I was already distressed. But when I went into the rehabilitation centre, you know, the drugs started to clear off a bit, the pain medication, when I say drugs, so pain medication, etc. And I, you know, started to just get a bit of clarity of thought and self. And I was alone in my room, and there was a little basin and a mirror. And I remember thinking,
The forbidden mirror.
and I was on the bed, and I remember thinking, there's a mirror there. And I thought, come on, Deb, look, get up and look. And so I got up and I quite purposely walked over to the mirror, and I stayed probably like this. I don't even know for how long. But then I looked up because I needed to face the truth. I needed to look at it, and still gets me. I looked, and I looked hard, and I cried because, you know, I was a young woman of 19, and half my face was depressed, sunken, lower. This eye was closed. I'd lost the ability at the time to move my eyelid. My eye was fixed and dilated and didn't move. And there was cuts and scars. I had a scarf over my head because I had half my head was shaved from the brain surgery. And I just looked and I cried, and then I pulled the scarf off my head, and I looked at the scar that runs ear to ear across the top of my head from when they put the plates in my head, my skull, and put brain surgery, etc. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just looked, and it was hard and it hurt. Then something happened, and I remember it, and I looked and I went, all right, you're here now. What are you going to do?
I love it.
This is not enough. That little room I was in was like representing the box of my injuries and of my limitations. And what I saw, I'm like, nah, that's not Deb. That's not what I look like. Thin, and I'm like, no, I don't accept this box. I don't accept this. What am I going to do? From then on, I wowed them in the rehabilitation, and I got out a lot earlier than what they thought. And I had relentless pursuit from then onwards. And I realized that in that journey, I realized that I could help people, because as I came out, wow, you're so inspiring. Oh, wow, I wish I could do this. And I'm like, but you can. And I found that I had this knowledge, and I found my purpose. I always wanted to help people, and I always helped people. I was that go-to. If you need help, go to Deb, even at that young age. And then I realized that's my calling. I'm supposed to help people. I'm a healer. I'm supposed to help people. And if this happened for me to do that, then so be it.
I love this story. Thank God for the doctors, but especially thank God for the plastic surgeon. How long did it take for them to restore your face?
Thank you. The initial reconstruction was in the hospital. And then after, like I said, after the initial functional reconstruction, by some miracle, the nerve here healed, and my eye opened and started moving on its own. I was at home, and it just happened on its own. It healed, and it happened. I'm a big believer about the positive energy around me helping that. I get a little bit spiritual on that side of things. That said, I also I continued on. A fantastic medical team. I still see my reconstructive surgeon, well, one of my reconstructive surgeons that was pivotal and key in that reconstruction. And I've had further surgery to functional for my breathing and aesthetic. So there's, as you can imagine, there's two parts to it. And also for the movement of my eye. But I had further surgery around, you know, like I said, it's my whole face, but the more damage on this side, which is where the impact was, more so on. And I've had, it took 10 years for me to feel comfortable looking at my reflection.
Are you kidding me? 10 years?
And I know that was more maybe what I saw, because they did a great job. Even initially, it was incredible, but I didn't really feel like me until that point. I was like, oh, I did a few. After in my early 20s, I did surgery on my nose to help me breathe more because I had issues there and with my iron function, and that helped a lot. I felt much more comfortable then. But then after some procedures that I did in my late 20s, that's when I sort of went, oh, I feel like I look like myself. So, and there's a few things that as we age move. So I get certain things fixed and make sure my eye closes properly, and
That is awesome. We are out of time, but how many surgeries do you think you've had total that you could think of?
So I had the initial reconstruction. I've had brain surgery. I had the surgery done around my eye and my nose. That was actually done kind of together. So that was, yes, that counts as two. And then I've had multiple procedures. Yes, multiple procedures. I can't even tell you that. Yeah, multiple things injected and put in my face. Yeah.
Well, thank God for the doctors in the world. Before I say goodbye to the viewers and wrap this interview up, what would you like to leave with my viewers?
Well, something that I always say and a focus is that you have the choice and the power to begin again at any time, to reinvent yourself and create the life that you desire, regardless of the situation. There's an opportunity to learn and to reinvent yourself. We may feel loss initially. However, it's actually quite liberating when we realize that we can authentically reinvent ourselves out of trauma. And that's where we gain power. So that would be my message.
I love that. I love that. I have a dear friend who's sort of stuck after trauma. I will make sure he listens to this.
Thank you.
Deborah, thank you so much. I know it's your Wednesday morning, right?
It is, yes.
Tuesday evening. So while I get ready to go on, carry on with the end of my day.
Good.
I wish you a great and wonderful day.
Thank you.
And I cannot wait to get this interview up and share your inspiration and your encouragement with my viewers. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled to have you. And thank you so much for watching Conversations with Jennylyn, another beautiful, inspiring woman. Her story is quite touching. It struck many chords in me, and I'm hoping something she has said can help you if you are struggling to live a better life. And I wish everyone watching my show a wonderful 2020.
Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.